finished Baby Reindeer. I actually didn't just only finish it, I started and finished Baby Reindeer at the weekend. I think like most people. And Baby Reindeer. And what I'd like to say is I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't binge things much, so the fact that I did binge it means that I did enjoy it. But it was tinged with a little bit of irritation. I was a little bit irritated throughout because I didn't think the characters' actions were always completely justified. Now, I need to caveat this review by saying that the main character in Baby Reindeer, who is played, the real life version of the character is played by the real life guy who it happened to, goes through a lot of trauma, abuse, and I understand that the story and some of the decisions of that character are based on like cycles of abuse, and sometimes those types of things can't be justified with logic, and that's okay. But what I'd like to say as a dispassionate viewer of a creative thing, of a piece of work, right? As someone who maybe hasn't been through what that main character has been through, what I'd like to say is that some of those decisions didn't feel justified. Decisions such as letting the stalkerishness get so deep before he started to rally against it. Decisions such as going back to the TV writer at the end, the guy who had abused him. There was so many points where he kind of kept it from people where I didn't think there was a reason to. So one example is when he went into the kitchen of his ex-girlfriend's mum's home and Martha was there joining in on a cooking night. I'd assume you'd just walk in and you'd go, oh my god, this woman's stalking me, like she's here because she's stalking me, like we need her out of this house. Like there's no reason for him not to have said that, and it felt like it was a narrative device so that later on in the show he was seen to have lied to like the ex-girlfriend's mum, but he didn't need to. I mean, it didn't really, I guess it made out that he was stunned and shocked and he was a bit scared at that point. But I'm not buying it, mate. I'm not buying it. Not at that point in the story. It wasn't scary enough at that point. I get later on, like when she's kind of outside the bus stop or threatening the family, that kind of thing. Then it's getting a bit too real. But earlier on, I think he could just tell more people. I get right at the start, like the whole point of his character is like maybe he enjoys it. Maybe he needs it to fill a hole in his life, but I'm talking like episode 3-4ish. Like I think you'd just be kind of telling people and you'd be more straight up with the police. Now those are probably things that maybe did happen to him in real life. He says he can't confirm or deny like which bits are true and which aren't for legal reasons. So maybe he did go to the police and maybe he did say what he said in the show and maybe they didn't do anything about it. And I understand people do have a lot of problems in those situations. But if that is the case, I don't think it was written in a way that sold it to me as a viewer. That's all I'm saying. If that is true, if he did leave it that long, or if he did get rebuffed by the police or blah, 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 it just didn't sell it to me enough, and that's pretty unbelievable if that's the real life situation. And I'm not sure whether, I do think it's the job of him as the writer to translate the real life situation into something that is legible and justified as a piece of dramatic work. I hope I've put that properly. Because it annoyed me. Like there was just so many times where you just wouldn't have done what he did. It got way too far, way too quick, and there was points where I was like, he didn't look vulnerable enough. And I think that the problem with that is that the real guy decided to play himself in the thing just like he had done on the West End. The problem is like now the real guy is like what, mid-30s? I haven't checked, but he looks about mid-30s, and the character's supposed to be mid-20s, and that's a problem as a viewer because I think someone in their mid-20s who's gone through what he'd gone through and who has that kind of vulnerability that you do have in your early mid-20s in a new city, I can believe it more. But I didn't know it was the real guy when I started watching. I don't think many people did. And like, so when those things are happening and I'm supposed to kind of believe the character's decisions, I didn't feel that vulnerability because he says in the show, oh, I was in my early 20s or mid-20s or whatever. And I looked at my girlfriend and we were like, he's about 35. Like, he didn't have the vulnerability that I think the character requires to justify the decisions that he was making. A 35-year-old, I don't think in that position would make those same decisions. So I don't care how many times I'm being told that he's 25. He doesn't look 25. So my like brain when I'm watching it is just like, okay, this doesn't really make sense because I'm not getting that air of vulnerability enough. At least not initially. Obviously when the kind of like abuse episode happened, that was a really good episode at providing that context and did alleviate a lot of those kind of narrative issues that I'm talking about. But I don't think all of them were justified. Yeah. But I enjoyed it like as a piece of like drama to fill up a weekend. I thought it was good. I think it was, do you know what it is? I think it was so close to being very, very, very good. And those things just ticked me off a little bit. I do think it was funny enough in parts and threatening enough in other parts, and so I don't want to sound like I'm too down on it, but I did come away frustrated because I was like, oh, it was so close to being like brilliant. Yeah, but then again, you know, I watched them all and I binged it all, so I can't have disliked it that much, could I? Baby Reindeer. Baby Reindeer. I would say 6 or a 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's good.